across to our guests quickly and get their thoughts on how this entire scenario evolves. Chris Blackburn is with us, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is with us, Hemant Tatri with us, and Brahma Chalani with us. Namaste, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Chris Blackburn, are you inclined to believe this whole theory that these gangsters are all operating and this is largely a profiteering business, and then there are others who are perhaps layering it with their own sinister agendas?
Yeah, I think what's happening is, and it's exactly that the Khalistan movement has tried to get funds from using criminal means, and we've seen drug trafficking in Punjab, where it's been linked to the political sort of angle as well. And in the UK, we had the exact same phenomenon with the Irish Republican Army. The IRA, certain figures used organised crime, armed robberies. They even stole paintings from galleries and from wealthy estates. So we've seen that groups who engage in terrorism, they just sometimes they are humans at the end of the day, and they see these massive profits from criminal activities, and they become polluted. So I think for the Khalistanis, we're also seeing there's a lot of gang warfare between groups in the UK. We saw at the Kabaddi there was a Kabaddi competition in the Midlands in the UK recently, where we saw people who openly support Khalistan, and we have this extreme gang violence on the side. Now, are the two linked? In Derby, they said it wasn't, but I'm not so sure. But when we look at in the Punjab, where we're seeing arms stealing, we're seeing drugs, and we're seeing other kinds of criminal activity, I think Jaishankar and the NIA are exactly right. This is becoming a criminal racket, not just a terrorist sort of threat against India, but a criminal racket against the Punjab.
But have you been able to wrap your head around the fact that every nation's intelligence is always watching these elements? How do they then seep into positions of power? How do they get into positions of policy and administration with a certain level of influence in government or with governments?
Well, I think if we're going to try and compare what's happened in the UK and Canada, in Canada we've got literally high-ranking politicians and ministers who are sympathetic to the Khalistani cause. Now, those guys have effectively taken hostage the ruling party and Justin Trudeau's party. So they're coalition partners. So we've seen from Justin Trudeau's foreign policy advisor, he's actually came out and said, listen, we knew there was terrorist financing, but we wouldn't do it because we did not want to upset the Sikh vote bank. In the UK, we've seen very similar things to that, but not on the levels of Canada. We've seen where Khalistanis, especially those in the Midlands, have tried to normalise what was quite a radical fringe movement, are trying to normalise things in the UK, and they've literally taken over the all-parliamentary group on British Sikhs in the UK. So Khalistani radicalism is being normalised in the UK, and a lot of this is mainly due because people are basically naive about the threat. They don't understand how Khalistan is a radical movement which isn't supported by Sikhs in India. So it's been a growing problem of this, I'd say, the last 5 years in the UK, and we simply, as British security analysts on the whole, haven't looked at this problem in detail. However, that is changing.
Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, do you agree with the position taken by Dr. Jaishankar, or should we have taken this earlier? He's also mentioned in straight words there, some straight talk there, where he says we've been badgering the Canadians with evidence and they have done nothing about it.
Well, one result of all this during the last 1 week is that the world is becoming more and more aware of what is actually happening inside Canada. Justin Trudeau had been talking about herd sovereignty and so on. Now, the worry of the world, or worry of at least India and those who are sympathetic to what India is saying, is the fact that Canada is running a criminal terrorist racket with the encouragement and the knowledge of Canadian authorities, especially Justin Trudeau. The Gurdwaras, there is a competition by Khalistanis to control them, so that they can get the money of the offerings made by the people there. There are gang wars going on. There was a murder after Niger's murder. No one is talking about that. So situation is serious for Canada itself. So in that respect, I fully agree that we did well to confront Canada. We did well to challenge it, to give information which so far it has not given. We did well in exposing the fact that Canada has a major worry on its head in terms of the proliferation of these gangs and the proliferation of the criminal and terrorist elements there. So all in all, it is now for the Canadian people, not so much the government, because government, as the previous speaker said, is dependent upon the Khalistani elements for the 25 seats that they control in the parliament. It is for the Canadian people and right-thinking media personnel to now put pressure on the government to say that there is still time. You have to control these elements. You have to bring in your law and order machinery to effectively check them, and wherever necessary to put them in prison rather than granting them citizenship when they did not need it, like Niger.